The candidates, the races, your vote. This is 17 News, your local election headquarters.
And good evening to you, and thanks for joining us here for 17 News at 11 o'clock on this election night. I'm Jim Scott.
And I'm Maddie Gannon. It's primary election night in California, and the polls have officially closed here in Kern County and across the state.
But it could be days or even weeks before there is a final outcome in many of the races here locally. But we do have a number of results in tonight as ballots continue to be counted. So, Maddie, let's get to it.
That's right. One of the most closely watched congressional races in the country is the 22nd district, where David Valadao is seeking another term in office. You can see the early results here. The only Democrat in the race, Rudy Salas, is out to a lead right now. Again, of course, we'll emphasize these with the early results. David Valadao is trailing him, the Republican incumbent. Then you have Chris Matisse, who has embraced Trump. He has talked about his love for the former president. He is trailing those two. And then you have Adam Medeiros there bringing it in.
All right, let's move on to the 20th Congressional District. Incumbent Kevin McCarthy has already announced his victory over Democrat Marissa Wood, with McCarthy with 55% of the vote at this early stage in the counting. The other two candidates in the race are Republicans James Davis and James McCauley, both taking a small margin of votes as of news time tonight. McCarthy took to social media tonight to thank his supporters, writing, "I want to thank the voters of the new 20th District for their support in our shared vision to make the Central Valley more prosperous, safer, and affordable for our families and communities. I also want to personally thank my family, staff, and volunteers for their tireless work and commitment. It is my greatest honor to represent you in Congress, and I will continue to fight to stop the rising cost of inflation in our stores and at the pump, keep our neighborhoods safe, and bring more water to our farms and communities."
And in the race for the 12th District, State Senator is Bakersfield Republican Shannon Grove. She is up right now. She is the incumbent. You can see there she has about 64% of the vote so far. She's seeking her 5th term. If she wins, this will actually be her last term in the state legislature due to term limits.
Moving on now to the 16th Senate District race, and a tight one here. 5 candidates vying for this seat. But this is a shocker to some tonight. The Republican, the newcomer, David SHEPARD, out in front with 40% of the vote in this early juncture, but he's followed closely by Melissa Hurtado, state senator, and Nicole Parra. Also running in this race, Republican Gregory Tatum and Delano Mayor Brian Osorio, also in this race. Brian Osorio now in 5th place in this race so far. We caught up with Melissa Hurtado tonight at her watch party here in Bakersfield.
Overall, I'm excited. I'm happy. We have a lot of volunteers and supporters that are here with me today. The amount of support that I've heard as I'm knocking on doors has been just really amazing, and so I'm feeling really excited.
And in that 16th Senate race, the top 2 vote getters will advance. Now let's take a look at the 35th State Assembly race. Here we have LETICIA PEREZ, current 5th District Supervisor. She's ahead right now with 61% of the vote. Bakersfield Dr. Jasmeet Baines has 39%. Both of these two candidates will move on to November's general election either way because there are only 2 candidates, but this can give us a good idea of what we might expect to see in November.
All right, 2 supervisorial races here in Kern County today, here at home. So we're tracking the latest in the 2nd District Board of Supervisors race. The incumbent, ZACK SCRIVNER, with 70% of the vote. And this will probably dispense with a runoff in this race in November. ZACK SCRIVNER followed by Kelly Carden of Rosemont and Pete Graff of Tehachapi.
And now let's take a look at the race for 3rd District Supervisor. Here we have Jeff Flores. He is currently Mike Maggard's Chief of Staff. Of course, this is Mike Maggard's seat on the Board of Supervisors that this race is looking to fill. Jeff Flores right now getting 38% of the vote. He's in the lead. He's followed by the other Republican in the race, Brian Smith, with 34%. Then we have the only Democrat here, Lewis Gill. He, of course, is the former Bakersfield Homeless Center CEO. He is trailing both candidates right now with 28%. We caught up with Lewis Gill and Brian Smith earlier tonight.
I think the biggest thing is knowing that we just finished all this time of working every single day, just putting in so much effort. So right now, like I was mentioning earlier to somebody, it's almost like taking your finals. You're just glad it's over, right? I mean, you hope you did well. You're waiting for the results, but right now you're just glad that you can kind of close the books for a while.
We've got a lot of votes still to come in. I'm really excited. I'm very grateful for the people that have been supporting me. I'm really grateful for all the people that have come out and done all of the walking and canvassing for us. We're going to have a long night. It's going to be a tight race. We'd like to see the returns a little higher in the next round, so we're just going to wait and see what comes in.
But as Lewis Gill said, it's early yet, and a long way to go before we can call any winners in those two races. And we also caught up with Jeff Flores at the GOP watch party going on at the 1933 Speakeasy Bar and Grill.
Our Bob Price is there with an update as the numbers continue to come in. Bob, good evening once again.
Things are winding down here at 1933 in Northwest Bakersfield. It's the Republican Party. They're enjoying themselves, talking about some nice little victories for Jeff Flores, who has a pretty good lead right now. He's up by about 5 percentage points. Last we saw over Brian Smith, as we just saw just a minute or two ago, with Lewis Gill close in third place. But all the drama seemed to be in other parts of the state, especially up in Porterville. They're celebrating a surprising showing in the 16th State Senate District race. But a little earlier, I did talk to Jeff Flores, who was optimistic about the way things are shaping up for him right now.
I'm the candidate that was totally committed to running for the 3rd district right off the bat. I wasn't jumping from one seat to another seat, congressional to this, sheriff to this. I've been fully committed and fully committed for 12 years. Separates me from the others.
As I was saying earlier, David Shepard. Well, here's a nice ovation for Jeff Flores. His team is still chatting things up. They're having a good time. The only other candidate that was here tonight earlier was Todd Reeves, who is running behind in the assessor's race to Avila, who's also in that same race against him to take over for their boss, John Lifquist, who is retiring. But I did talk earlier to Catherine Abernathy about that 16th Senate District race where David Shepard of Porterville has a surprising lead. And here's what Kathy had to say.
David Shepard's a fresh new face, but he's part of agriculture. That's his family background, which is major in that district. And I think the other two candidates don't come close to that. And so I think he's really caught an interest in the people. And it'll be really exciting if he makes it into the November race. I think we might see a change and get a good conservative farm family in Sacramento.
Well, things are wrapping up here. It's been a pretty good night for the Republicans here, but it is just that first night. There's so much more coming in tomorrow. We'll tell you all about it tomorrow from Republican headquarters for the night at 1933. Robert Price, back to you.
All right, Robert, thank you. Now, turning to the Kern County Assessor Recorder race, where the winner will be responsible for determining the value of all taxable property within the county, among other responsibilities. 2 candidates in this race, as we have said. And here's the way the numbers are breaking down at this hour. Laura Avila, the Assistant County Assessor, with 60% of the vote, about a 5,000 vote lead over Todd Reeves, who is the chief appraiser for the assessor's office. 47% of the precincts reporting in. Let's hear from the candidates.
It's kind of surreal, but it's been a lot of work to get here, and you know, I'm optimistic that the votes will come out for me.
Oh my goodness, I am absolutely elated right now. It's really hard to describe how excited I am, and you know, I'm going to continue to work hard and be that defender of Prop 13 and a taxpayer advocate, and you know, work really hard for Kern County. But this is just amazing.
Let's take a look now at the Auditor Controller County Clerk race. This is the position that, among other things, runs Kern's elections. We have two candidates here. Amy Espinoza is in the lead right now. She is the current Assistant Auditor Controller County Clerk. She has about 61% of the vote. You can see there. Mark McKenzie, on the other hand, has about 39%. We spoke with Mark McKenzie to get his reaction.
Well, I think it's obviously really, really early. Nobody knows how many votes are ultimately going to be cast at this point. So I can't draw any conclusions whatsoever from the results that we've seen.
All right, now we continue to keep a close eye on election integrity as this night unfolds and the numbers continue to come in. This is an issue, election integrity, that concerns many voters around the county, despite elections officials' assurances that there is really no reason to worry.
And 17's Moses Small joins us live from the elections office in downtown Bakersfield with more on the steps officials are taking to ensure your vote is safe. Moses?
Jim, Maddie, good evening. Tens of thousands of people have mailed their ballots in and thousands more voted in person today. And if we take a quick look to my right, we can see the room where workers are now starting to tabulate votes using the machines. But some people are still wary of the process, and they're scrutinizing whether votes will be tallied fairly and accurately. We've seen several people here at the elections office keeping track of the process of counting votes and verified ballot signatures, trying to ensure an fair election. You can see ballots arriving from around the county. Vote workers will scan signatures by machine before reviewing them by hand. Then every ballot in the county goes to another room where machines tabulate votes. Only a select number of election officials are allowed into the ballot counting room, which is protected with security badges. Dozens of security cameras watch ballots from the moment they arrive to the elections office to the moment machines tabulate votes. But not everyone is convinced the county will properly count all of the votes, which leads some people to keep an eye on the process. Meantime, Register of Voters Mary Bedard has a message for voters skeptical of election integrity as tens of thousands of people vote by mail.
Well, California has very tight security. They require of all the counties that all of the testing before the election, the testing of all the equipment, and then after the election, then we do a 1% hand count of all the ballots to compare to the machine count. We do check every signature that comes from a mail ballot, so voters can be very confident in the security.
A footnote here, election officials tell 17 News they have never had a single tabulation error when counting 1% of votes by hand and comparing those results to their machines. But you can also track your ballot using this state-run website that is california.ballottrax.net. You can enter your personal information and that site will bring you the latest information about your ballot. Now, mail-in ballots had to be postmarked by today, but election officials tell us it could take about a week for the rest of those ballots to reach them. At the county elections office, Moses Small, 17 News.
Moses right in there in the thick of it.
He sure is. And the big party tonight for the Democratic faithful in Bakersfield is at IBEW Labor Hall in central Bakersfield.
And that's where we find 17's Christian Galeno, who has been monitoring the action there as the numbers come in tonight. Christian, once again, good evening to you.
Jim and Maddie, good evening. Well, the party has kind of, trickled down here already. It's come to a close. But the one thing here that was for sure was the support for candidates Luis Gil, LETICIA PEREZ, and Rudy Salas. It's a support that they have vowed to continue up until November for some of these candidates who are facing yet another battle as they continue their race for some of those seats. Now, regardless, again, like I said, that support was clear here tonight. Two of the candidates who local Democrats stood behind are now facing one final battle in November in one of the most competitive races in the nation, the Central Valley's 22nd congressional district. Rudy Salas is the only Democrat hoping to unseat incumbent David Valadao. He currently counts with about 50.4% of the vote, setting him up for the real battle in November. Then all eyes are also on the newly drawn 35th Assembly District, which stretches from Arvin to Delano and includes much of East Bakersfield. County Supervisor LETICIA PEREZ quite possibly heading to a much bigger arena to represent Kern County with hopes to keep that seat blue, which is currently taken up by Rudy Salas. And at last check, PEREZ has a lead of close to more than 30% over Dr. Jasmine Baines.
I think that people are saying that they recognize our hard work, that, you know, we're always out there. We're always doing something in our community. We're fighting for infrastructure. We're fighting to make sure that their kids have opportunities in our schools. They recognize that we're fighting to lower the cost of their bills, prescription drug costs. You know, I was the only person one of the only Democrats to vote to suspend the gas tax. You know, people recognize that.
You know, the state has gone very blue, as you know, and the county is becoming increasingly Democratic. I think Kern County is much more of a purple center, and that's what's so exciting about this seat, is that Kern County has one assembly seat to go forth and represent its vast and complex issues to the state to ensure that we become wealthy, that we become the carbon capture managers of the globe, and we retain our prowess by demonstrating who Kern County really is. So I feel incredibly grateful tonight. My heart is full. I love Kern County. I feel like Kern County loves me. And I'm ready to go to Sacramento and say, Kern County's at the table, right? We're not leaving without a whole lot of money and opportunity because we deserve it and we have the goods. I believe that.
Well, confidence is definitely the key here from these candidates tonight. Feeling very confident tonight as those results continue to trickle in. Now, we were following these Democratic candidates throughout the day as they went for one last push into the community to get those last-minute votes and to convince voters to vote blue. Other races we have been keeping an eye on for the 3rd Supervisor District. Jeff Flores with 37.92% of the vote. Brian Smith with 33%. And Lewis Gill obviously also here tonight with his supporters. He is the only Democrat in that race. Now, another race where another key Democrat that we've been keeping an eye on is the race for the 16th district, where Melissa Hurtado is also part of this race, and she's closely followed by Republican David Shepard with about 27% of that vote. Now, like we mentioned earlier, that celebration here wrapped up quite early as well. Rudy Salas being one of the first candidates to head out. He does have an early start tomorrow morning in Sacramento. But for now, reporting live in Central Bakersfield, Christian Galeno, 17 News.